This is Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel for SMEs, business owners and entrepreneurs. Streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. The live show is made possible by our sponsor, Restream, the easy way to stream to multiple social platforms at the same time. Restream Studio makes it simple to go live directly from your browser. Get started now at businessconnectionslive.com/Restream. And now, here's Steve Highland. Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and business owners. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking to Nigel Risner, international business speaker. One of the biggest problems that business leaders have is engaging their workforce. Now, Nigel is a no-nonsense speaker who gives clear direction to business owners on how to communicate with their workforce with impact. It's going to be a cracking show today. You're going to get a lot out of it. If you are having issues at the moment, if you are looking at ways to maybe communicate, you're going to get a lot of great advice from Nigel on today's program. I asked Nigel to kick off with a bit of background about himself.
So I've been speaking all over the world for about 19 years and done lots of work with chief executive groups, which is how I originally started. And then from there started to do conferences, seminars, in-house work. But I've been blessed for the last 7 years to be traveling all over the world, doing stuff that I love doing, especially creating impact with my clients and teaching them how to communicate really well.
It's all a bit of a teaser, so we're going to keep using the word impact and then we shall reveal all to you as the program progresses. There are a lot of motivational speakers out there, and there's a lot of motivational speakers, I feel, that do the talk but don't really do the walk because they've never truly had the experience of working in business. That's not in your case, is it?
I was blessed that I started working at 16, and then I went to Israel, played professional tennis for 2 years, headhunted back to the UK to work in a bank, and then at 20 started a finance company with a partner who had an estate agent, and he sold nursing homes and residential homes, and I financed them. And from a £12.80 start to having 75 staff with 5 offices around the country, bought him out with venture capital, virtually going public, not going public, leaving my own business, starting all over again from home. I've been there in big business, I've been there with the lawyers, I've been there with accountants, and I've been there working with teams. And if I only knew now what I knew then, my business would have been in a different direction.
When you walk into businesses now, do you see the same mistakes over and over again? Is there a Nigel Risner tick list that goes, yep, they're doing that badly, they're doing this badly, they need to address this? Do you see that? Are we always reinventing the wheel, each and every business that we come across?
I did a seminar recently and I said, turn up early, be nice, leave them wanting more. And people said, slow down, we've got to write this down. And that was a worry for me, because I thought that was pretty standard. But most businesses, if you just are nice to your customers and you know your staff's personal needs, which I'm sure we'll come on to later on, and you communicate well, you would have a good business. The problem is we're not nice. We don't listen to our staff and we don't communicate well and we wonder why we have problems, and then we blame the bigger boys, or we blame the internet, or we blame some new scheme. My brother-in-law's a taxi driver. Of course, all black cab drivers are really upset with Uber.
Yeah.
All Uber did was come up with a new concept to drive people. And when they turn up in a new car that's relatively clean, people go, I like this.
Yep.
In business, all you want is someone to serve you nicely and to listen to you. It was a bit like when I got here today. I was looked after, I was given water, offered tea, sat down, shown the toilets. That's all you want.
Just to be nice to people.
Yes.
So when you walk into businesses, do you often see the culture of fear, management by fear? I've worked in organisations where it's been management by maybe a CEO's name. If you don't do this...
See, there's no such thing as culture in an organisation. There's culture of people. So when you say, well, that's the culture of the organisation, it's never the culture of the organisation. It's just the culture of people. So if you have nice people, you have a nice culture. And if you have not nice people, you have a not nice culture. It's that simple. But you can go into the same fast food store that looks identical to one 3 miles away, the same bank that looks exactly the same as one 3 miles away, and you walk into a bank, you walk into a hamburger joint, and you will notice within seconds the energy. You'll feel something, the way the staff look at you. I recently asked for a burger without chips. It was cheaper to have the burger with chips because that became part of like a happy meal. But I didn't want the chips because I was on one of my many diets. She couldn't work this out. This was just like too complicated. I said, just give me the burger with chips, but I don't want the chips. I'll have the happy meal. She said, we've got to give you the chips. I said, I don't want the chips. This went on for about 5 minutes. I said, if you give me the chips, all I'm going to do is I'm going to throw them away. She said, if that's what you need to do. And at that point, I knew there was an issue with the organisation. So I literally took the chips. I saw a little kid there, and I wasn't sure if it was acceptable to give it to the kid. But the idea was, I didn't want the chips. But you couldn't have the burger without the chips at the same price.
We do always. I'm dealing with a large multinational at the moment, and trying to I promise you I won't go on about it, but I mean I am dealing with a large multinational at the moment, and they too are steeped in systems that they cannot change. They cannot make them right for the customer. The systems are there for them.
But they can change the system, but they're scared of what the ground rules are, and they're scared of, if we don't follow the system, what will happen. Now you have a fear of what could happen. And I share all the time, I don't think anyone's ever been fired for handing not the chips over. I've never seen it, even in the Daily Mail, which there would be a headline story. Yes. Someone fired for not handing over the chips when we didn't ask for it. But we live in a culture where if you are nice and you have nice staff and you communicate well, there's a good chance you make a success.
What about, you've got the experience of running a large multinational, running a large financial company, and you had 75 staff there. Do you think sometimes there is a disconnect between senior management and their staff, not understanding how the staff actually feel? They think everything, the senior management think everything is okay, but the actual staff think it's just awful.
Well, I'll make it even easier. If I had have known at the time that the thing that drives people is what their personal needs are and not money, I would have kept more of my staff. We had a guy join our finance company, and I gave him, the package was a nice salary with a company car. Then literally a week before, one of my directors was getting rid of a Golf GTI. Every boy's racing car dream. And I thought,
in those days?
Yes, and I thought, this was the 80s, and I thought, I'll give him that car instead of the Ford Sierra that we were going to be giving him. The problem was he had told everyone he was getting a brand new car. And now I was offering him a 6-month-old car, much better, and I thought he'd be delighted. The guy left in 4 months. And subsequently I found out it's because he didn't get what he asked for, because I thought he's getting a much better deal. But he had told everyone he was getting a brand new red Sierra.
So how do businesses, I mean, we've got business owners that are watching this right now. They're sitting in their own little bubble thinking that everything's okay in the garden, and they don't really realise what their staff are thinking, or how they're being motivated, and how also they are allowing them to engage with both customers and the business.
So there's only one thing worse than motivated and trained staff leaving your organisation. And that's untrained and unmotivated staff staying in your organisation. And here's the problem every day. That what happens is, we're doing a message today to owners. Most owners have no idea that what people actually want is time with their children. They want freedom to think. They want to be trusted. They want to get on with what they need to do. Alison, who's been my PA for 20 years, we have a phrase that says, performance equals potential less interference. She has jobs to do, and I have jobs to do. The amount of times I interfere, and then she goes crazy because this is her job. But I just want to check what she's doing. And I know all this, and I still do it. Now, if I know it and still do it, can you imagine all the people who don't know it and are doing it? But at least we know how to communicate with better impact to clear. So every Friday we'll have a chat, and she'll say, remember what you did last week really upset me. But at least we know. But there are people who've been let go of, where there's issues been going on for 10 years and no one's really shared the bottom line. So if you're going to communicate with your staff, you have to do what I call TTTTF. Tell the total truth faster. But what most people do is they tell a little bit of the truth and not very fast.
Hence the problems that they find themselves in.
If not today, tomorrow. 20% of all staff are thinking of leaving right now. So everyone who's watching this program, 20% of your staff are actively thinking of leaving, have thought about leaving, or just waiting for something better to turn up. Problem is, those 20% are engaging with your customers.
But don't you think, though, I mean, the kind of guy you are, you're a formidable guy. Your nickname is the Bulldog that I've heard people refer to you as. You know, I've heard that. And there have been times that when you're standing up and you're presenting on stage, you can
That's kind of nice, though.
Is that a nice nickname?
I've been called a lot worse. If it's only Bulldog, I'm okay with that.
You're right there.
I just want people to understand that there is a message that needs to be shared with the team.
Isn't that a problem then, that people approaching you? I mean, I approached you to come on the programme, and you're actually a really nice guy. But there must be people that would find you quite intimidating.
There are 20% of the population who just can't cope with my direct style, because I only have one interest at heart, is to make you, this show, your clients, the people watching, better than they were before we started. That's my only aim. That means there's going to be some people who won't like this message. And I need to tell you, I'm okay with that.
You don't care?
No, it's not that I don't care. I'm okay if they don't get me. But if they followed the plan, and I don't care what plan they follow, but they've got to follow a plan. If they listen to this programme and they learn to be nice, communicate well, create an impact, their business will be better, their relationships will be better. But there are some people who'd much rather be right than happy. Yeah. So there's a whole group of people going, I like what he's saying, but I'm not going to do it. No, I know I haven't spoken to my wife for 10 years, but we're happy. Oh, are you? Are your team happy? There is a small percentage of people who have a vested interest in your life not working. They are happy to see the show not work. They're happy for the transmission to not work. They're waiting for the Wi-Fi not to work or the transmission to be something. They'll be delighted. The problem is that's a very small percentage, and I don't worry about them anymore. So if I do an evaluation, if I look at my evaluations and 95% say I'm brilliant, I'm okay with that.
Fantastic. He really is absolutely inspirational. He's got a book out as well. You can find it on Amazon at the moment. It's called The Impact Code. Live the Life You Deserve, Nigel Risner. It's a cracking publication. And of course, just go to Amazon and get that one. As I said, I've got this one before. I said, I've got this one on my Kindle. And it's the kind of book that once you start reading, you can't put it down. Some of the stuff on the back of it, David Taylor, he's the author of The Naked Leader. He says, I believe that Nigel Risner is the best speaker in the world. He excites, he challenges, and most of all, he impacts the lives of thousands of people to take action. Cracking book. More about that a little bit later on the program. Now, a couple of weeks back on the show, we were talking to Dexter Moscow. He was talking about how to influence people and also to go on there and persuade people. But predominantly, he was talking about how to effectively sell and sell yourself. He's got a book out. I'll tell you more about that in just a few moments' time. Really interesting show. Dexter's background, he's worked for a number of online shopping retailers, the likes of QVC, and he was taking some of the lessons he learned there on how to communicate effectively your sales message and how to turn it into proper sales. Great show once again from Dexter. If you missed it, it was a couple of weeks ago, but just to give you a bit of a tease, here's the highlights from that particular edition of Business Connections Live. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Dexter Moscow, and we're talking about the Moscow method and how to sell yourself without selling.
Is there you're selling to an invisible audience. So you have to do quite some research when you're presenting a product. What is going to appeal to that audience? And I think that is the same when you're sitting in front of somebody, or if you have an audience of one or many, you have to find out what is happening for them, what is that need. And I think that what has come out of the modern experience with the internet and with people being so well informed, the key here, and it's true of the commercial world, the corporate world, as it is in QVC, you have to make that emotional connection first of all. There's a guy who, I think you know, Simon Sinek, who has developed a process which I think is absolutely right. What normally happens when somebody goes into a selling situation, they say what they do, how they do it, and why they do it. Now, Simon Sinek has turned that on its head and said, first of all, why do you do what you do? And what is the benefit to people of doing what you do? And the key here is about what is going on for them. It's never about, I know what's happening in your business, and they nod their head and say, yes, that's right, that's what's happening in our business. It's about them then looking at you and say, do you know, I never realized that. I never thought of that. If you are invited to speak to your colleagues, then if you refuse it, if you duck it, or give the opportunity to somebody else, then that can damage your career prospects. As I said before, I think people are so well informed now that they know when they're being sold a bill of rights. And so I think that it is important. It's consultancy, but it's consultancy in such a way that engages people, and it sounds very strange to say this in a business world, but to be entertained by people. Mindset, and we did talk about it before, people are very fearful of standing up and speaking, public speaking. Some people are very nervous even going into a pitching situation. And what I maintain, it's the mindset. People are thinking, am I going to make a fool of myself? Am I going to stumble over my words? Am I going to say the wrong thing? Am I going to lose credibility? Now, that's all about us. Mindset is when you think, what is it that these people want to know? I think in terms of what the average retailer does, what the average business person does, they don't just want one hit. They want a continuing relationship. And that has to be born out of good customer service. Simply, it is how we look, what we say, and how we say it are so important. One has to be congruent. And it comes to what you were saying before. If we're just using a process, and that's all people see, then there's this, and I hesitate to use the words again, but there's a bullshit monitor. And people know instinctively if you're telling the truth or not. Refer back to QVC, which is a great learning case for me for many years. You and I have both presented and worked with presenters there. And what you find is if there is an actor who is selling a product, they are taking a role. But if you get somebody who's designed it, manufactured it, lived with it, then there is such congruent behavior. What they say, how they say it, and how they look when they say it are absolutely congruent. If you have been listening, thank you very much. My name is Dexter Moscow. As we said before, that is my real name. My company is Audience Dynamics, and really that is what it's all about, understanding the audience and how you relate to them. The three take-homes are 3 E's. In fact, there's a 4th E. But the 3 E's are this: engage with people, and that means understanding them. Enlightening them, tell them something that they don't know, something that will really be of benefit for them. And this sounds strange to say in a corporate environment, but people need to be entertained. They need to be able to buy into what we're saying. And the 4th E is to be excited. If you're not excited about what you do and how you can help people, how the hell are you going to make others excited about you?
Just a fantastic bloke. Dexter Moscow there talking about, well, the perfect way to sell, how to sell yourself without selling. That was the title of the program. Yet another book available right now if you want to get hold of a copy of this, and you'll find that also on Amazon. £11.99 is the price. You can also go to Dexter's website as well, dextermoscow.co.uk. Fantastic book as well. Some nice quotes on the back. It tells you how to prepare yourself to present the perfect pitch, how to structure your presentation again, maximum engagement and buy-in, create content that will captivate but credibility and establish trust, and deliver it with power and impact. And we're talking about the whole idea of comms today, communications, how you deliver your communications with impact. If you're in business, there are a few business leaders that I know, and when I see them standing on stage delivering their message, I always feel that, you are capturing the minds and the souls of your workforce, and they will follow you wherever you go, through the good times and through the bad times as well. Now, that skill for a business leader, I think, is really essential. And also when they sometimes deliver things that in their heart of hearts they know is not going to resonate well with the workforce, yet they're able to deliver it in such a motivational way that people will once again still follow them. Fantastic skills to have. If you're lucky enough to have those skills naturally, well then so be it. But if you're looking for advice in the sales arena, in the marketing arena, in the communications arena, then any of our guests that we've got on today's show will give you really good advice when it comes to that. And I've got some news as well about a publication that we're releasing that you can download absolutely free, and that will give you some advice when you're getting ready for maybe that media interview, that radio or television interview that you're going to have in the future. Don't forget, if you are enjoying the program, you'd like a program like this for yourself, it's dead easy to do. All you got to do is, well, go online. You can drop us an email to this address, have a word with myself, or Linda Bazan, to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. Dead easy to do that. Or you can pick up the dog and bone. Now, if you are a business leader and you want to position yourself as such, then come on the show. 01784256677 is our telephone number. Have a word with us. It'll explain the process on how you could go about positioning yourself and presenting yourself as the business leader that you truly are. Don't forget, you can also follow our stream of consciousness at BCL Business TV. You can watch the programs and comment on them on Facebook too, but the best place to go for over 300 hours of great business advice is to the website at businessconnectionslive.com. You're watching Business Connections Live. Great to have your company as always. Now, with all the books that are here at the moment, it does seem that every speaker has a book to sell to publicize themselves. So the question I posed to Nigel was, does every motivational speaker have to be a published author?
No.
There you go. That told me, didn't it? So you've got this one, The Impact Code, Live the Life That You Deserve. It's a fascinating book. You can get this on Amazon, I would imagine, yeah?
Yes.
Available on Amazon. A really good read. I've got this on my Kindle at the moment. It's a fascinating book. If you're looking, and it's one of those books that when you pick it up and you start reading it, you'll find that you will read it all the way through because you think, that's good advice. Ooh, that's not bad advice either. Oh, that's good too. And then you find yourself trying to rewrite the book in your notes because you're taking notes from it. It's a great book. The other book it's a zoo around here, The New Rules for Better Communication from Nigel Risner. There's how did he get a picture of me on the front of his book? Which one? There you go. Great book once again. And, you know, this is one of those books that you pick up and you get quick advice. It's the kind of thing that you get where... Cracking book once again. It's a zoo around here. Nigel Risner. What was the darling? What was the motivation? That's the first one, isn't it? That's the main book, isn't it?
That's the main book, which is the whole of my theories about creating impact. The Zoo book, which is all about communication, is the C of impact, because we spend so long in organisations helping them communicate. We thought we'll do a special book just for them. But we wrote the book in 4 languages. So most people write and do emails and do television shows in the language of the person who's producing the show or who is writing the program. I realised that there are many different animals in the workplace. So as a major monkey, so I have a very short attention span, I wrote the book with lots of colour pages, not many words on each page. And so our section is right at the beginning in yellow.
Yes.
Then we realised that the lions, who are the directors, who need just bottom line information, which they can plagiarise really easily, theirs is second, but they've got short paragraphs because they'd much rather be right than happy. The elephants, who need lots of detail, there are graphs and there are details in there, and no, that's the dolphins. You've gone to the wrong section there, but that's okay because I didn't explain myself clearly because I'm a monkey. They're the dolphins, they're the nice people, they hug everybody, they just want the whole world to be nice. But the green section, which is the elephants, when you go a little bit further, you will find that there are not only lots more paper, but there is a yellow graph for them which can interact with them. Keep going, and there's loads and loads. Keep going and keep going and keep going, and then you'll find
I'm getting there.
And another page, another page, another page. Go now, one more page.
One more page.
This is designed for the elephants because they need structure, data, detail, and none of the monkeys are going to read this, which is why we don't even put it at the beginning of the book. Only elephants read to the end. So when you're communicating with people and you want to make an impact, if you don't know the language of your listener, you are just being an animal. If you really become an effective zookeeper, which is what your job is when you do this show, is to communicate to the masses who are listening, some on web stream, some are watching it live, some of who know how to download this for later use. There's not a chance I'll know how to do that. So if I can't watch it live, it never gets watched. If there's a WinZip attachment in an email, I don't know how to undo it because it goes behind into a folder. Monkeys don't do that. So when you know how to communicate like a zookeeper, and if you think how zookeepers operate, they give the right food to the right animals to get the right performance. When you're in a hurry though, and you all know this from a show that you have produced where you've got someone in your ear telling you 2 minutes to wrap up, you will go back to your natural language, and that's where all the problems occur. So when you become an effective zookeeper, communication is really easy.
When you meet managing directors, and we've divided CEOs, large corporate businesses, predominantly, what are they?
Well,
monkeys?
Well, not necessarily. Richard Branson, who's a massive entrepreneur who does some crazy things, is a massive monkey. So he has wild ideas, doesn't quite know how he's going to get there, but then employs really brilliant people. If you remember the days of Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, it was one way or no way. It was her way or the highway. So you have a lot of managing directors who are entrepreneurs who've got an idea but can't implement them. And then you have some very staunch, clever people who are managing directors who don't have the energy to enthuse other people. Then you might have a chartered accountant, and Gordon Brown was the classic example. And without getting into politics, he may have been a phenomenal chancellor, wasn't a great prime minister, in my opinion, because he didn't know how to communicate.
Yes.
So phenomenal what his job was, whether he'd been a lawyer, solicitor, an architect, a design engineer, but wasn't great with the passion.
And this is the problem, isn't it? Sometimes people, it's nearly the Peter principle, isn't it? But in a slightly different way, promoted to your level of incompetence, isn't it? And it wasn't that he was incompetent, he just didn't have the necessary skills in that particular
He was
field.
phenomenal as Chancellor in that sense of the logistics of what his job was. But if you put him in front of all the people, that wasn't his real role. And so you have lots of politicians, you have lots of managing directors, you have lots of business coaches or football coaches who have a specific role. And then when you ask them to do lots of different things for lots of different people, that's where they fall short. So I teach, are you being an effective zookeeper to your people so you can make an impact? So when I work as a monkey, and I'm just messing about and I'm on stage and I don't follow the script because I didn't read all the stuff that you sent me because I just don't. So hopefully I'm doing okay.
Seem to be.
But I won't know that's because you're a bit of a monkey too. So you've got two monkeys doing an interview. This is not great news. But if we had, one of us was a bit more technically minded or one of us was a bit more strict to the point, one of us probably would be falling short. I always know if I can get to the middle position. Have you ever played squash?
Yes.
Because you look the squash type of player.
Well, it really...
In squash, the person who holds
snake hips.
The person who holds the centre position in squash traditionally wins the game.
Yeah.
The person who can get to the centre of communication normally has the best communication skills. The problem is in communication is that some of us are listening and some of us are waiting to respond. And the greatest listeners are the greatest communicators.
And it's strange, isn't it? Because I've worked in a number of organisations, broadcast organisations, and because they are all the speakers, there's very little listening goes on. And in many of the broadcast organisations I've worked, they are the world's worst communicators internally.
And here's the problem, it's always about internal communication. If you want an organisation to be phenomenal externally, you have to get your internal comms done first. So internal communication to me is the most important. Staff come first and then the customers come second. But if you don't talk well to your staff internally, they talk badly to your external customers.
Yeah. All right, now listen, I've got to bring you back on track because the book's the clue.
Two monkeys in a room.
Two monkeys in a room,
problem.
That's the problem. So look, the impact code, we're talking impact. People will hear that and they think it's nearly a God thing that's going on here. And that isn't what we're talking about. The impact, it's a mnemonic, isn't it?
Everything that I do is to make an impact in the moment. And if you're not making an impact, why would you do it? So the original part of impact was always about being in the room. So right now I'm in the room, I'm in the studio with you.
Now explain that, because I heard you say this at one of your talks, and it really did. It really resonated with me. It's just give us it in English about being in the room.
Okay, so my phrase is, if you're in the room, be in the room.
Right.
So I'm in this room, I'm in this studio, and I've got two kids who are somewhere, and I've got a business that's going on elsewhere, and I'm going to the States to speak on Friday in 4 days' time. I've got loads of things going on, and the only thing that matters to me in the whole wide world is you. So you are the only person who I love right now. Strange, I know, but that is the truth. And the reason I love you is because it's just you and me. In about an hour's time, I won't love you as much. I'll love the next people I'm with, but the people who I'm with are the people I love. So I'm not going to see my kids for another 3 days. So what's the point of me focusing on them if I'm in this studio with you?
So are we talking about, and we see this all the time as when we're standing on stages, people that are sitting in the audience on their iPhones, or other phones are available, but on their smartphones doing the text messaging?
Here's the whole point. So right now, I'm talking to you, but all of a sudden... Oh, sorry, you were saying something? And that's the point, that I think that whilst women can multitask better than men, and they can, we are often so busy in our lives that we've just got to check the chicken, we've just got to check the kids, we've just got to check my next phone call, the last client, we're going to do another segment, that we're not in the moment. So it's no use saying to people, turn your phones off, because people are conscious that they don't want to miss anything. So I now say to people, put your phones on silent, and if you are desperate every 20 odd minutes to look at your phone, but get back in the room. And if where you need to be is more important, if you had right now a water problem in your home and there was a plumbing issue and you had 10,000 gallons of water coming through your house, believe me, I'd want you to go and sort the house out. It would be more important than this interview. The difference is I'm being real. I don't think you'd be focused on this interview. We wouldn't be doing the best show we could. But if the house is now sorted out or the plumber's on its way and you can't do anything about it, let's be in the room. So when you're in the car, be in the car. When you're at home, be at home. And when you're in the studio, be in the studio.
Do you think now that I kind of mentioned it earlier on, that people have a short attention span? That's what the marketers would like you to have. I think it's the fact that we don't put out engaging material anymore. But do you think there is an addiction nearly to technology, that there's a lot of times that you see people walking down the street and they don't look forward anymore? People were saying when JFK died, not that I can remember this, that people can remember where they were. I can remember where I was when man landed on the moon. When Prince died, people won't remember where they were. They'll remember they were just looking at their phone.
I heard, and we've got a few younger listeners out there, I'm sure, that FOMO, that fear of missing out. We are so scared that if we don't know what's going on and we don't know on who's just checked into Costa Coffee, I'm baffled when I get on a Twitter feed, someone has checked into Costa Coffee, like that's going to change my world. But people do this daily. They check into business lounges, but I have to tell you, they've checked into a business lounge to let the whole world know that they have access to a lounge, or they're in Starbucks, or wherever the business might be. When I go to a lounge before I fly, I'm only too excited that I'm in a lounge. I want to enjoy the lounge. I don't want to be wasting my time.
Hang on a second, I've just got to tell everybody I'm in the lounge.
Well, you say that in Dubai airport, there are extra points for checking in a lounge. So people who are late for their flight go via the lounge, check in, get extra 6 air miles, and then go out. The whole plane is waiting because Mrs. Smith has to let people know they're in a lounge, and then we read and then we write back, have a lovely flight, instead of having dinner with the children. My kids know on a Friday night when I sit down with them, there are no phones at the table. We have one night a week where there are no phones allowed at the table whatsoever, including guests, unless there's a doctor who might be on call. We have a couple of friends. Here's the point: how many times are you not engaged because your mind is somewhere else?
Yes, you're right. How often does that happen? We wander, don't we?
It's called MPS, missing, presumed selling.
What was he talking about? Don't forget, when you're in the room, you're in the room. And I think it's the biggest problem that all speakers and presenters actually have. When you're standing there and you're presenting your deck of PowerPoint slides, your death by PowerPoint, or your keynote speech, wouldn't it be amazing if you could actually look at your audience and identify who is still engaged with you, who is still listening to you, who is still there perhaps, maybe. So, you're working all the time to make certain that your presentation is going to be engaging. It's going to be something that people are going to be drawn in with, and they're going to want to hear what the next word is. I sometimes think that maybe what we should do is make everybody in an audience sit there with their hands up, and as they find you boring, they drop their hands. And then you'll know. And when all the hands come down, then you just finish, because there's nobody listening to you anymore. Our guest on today's show is Nigel Risner. He's the author of The Impact Code. road. Live the life you deserve is his motto. Fantastic author, fantastic speaker. If you ever get a chance to see him, I do suggest that you go along and see him. Talking about speakers, more now from renowned speakers with Jeremy Nichols. He came on the show and we had a really in-depth talk there. Once again, Jeremy, ex-radio, still does a bit of radio here and there. Also television. He's the voice of FIFA, the commentator on FIFA, the game, of course, not the real thing. He also was a commentator on athletic events for the BBC. So he's a man that understands what commentating, communicating is all about. He came on the program and he asked the question, what are you talking about? It was a great show last year, and the show was all about the art of communicating with clarity and understanding, and what you are saying and what you want your audience as well to identify what you want your audience to get out of what you are presenting to them. Good show, and here are some of the key takeaways from that program with Jeremy Nichols.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Nichols. I'm the director of Talking Toolbox, and I teach companies how to be entertaining and engaging when pitching for business and speaking at events. My big thing is that you've got to start with an exciting bit, and everything that I've talked about on the program is summed up in my book, which is called 1,000,000 Tips on Public Speaking, brackets volume 1, because there's not 1,000,000 tips in there, that's just to get out. And you can download it for free. It doesn't even cost you anything, on my website, which is my name, jeremynicholas.co.uk.
Jeremy Nicholas there, and a good show to watch. Some really good advice as well if you're putting together a speech, regardless of what it's for. If you're doing it for maybe an after-dinner event, or maybe for a bride and bridegroom, you're the best man, something like that. Some really, really good advice. But also, if you are a public speaker, Jeremy will give you advice that you need to further your career in that program. Do check out the show. You'll find it, of course, on our website at businessconnectionslive.com. Talking about the website, do go along to the site, because we've got a brand new publication that you can download for free there. It's called How to Handle the Media, and you can see the cover of it here on my laptop. Thank you very much indeed. The book is designed around a guide to interview techniques on television and radio for business, and it goes through a number of the different approaches that you need to do and to find out when it comes to sorting out how you deal with the media, what you do when it comes to what the techniques that you should use, what you should wear when you're on TV, how to maybe control the interview when you're on radio or television. It's a cracking little book. It's free to download, of course, and all you got to do is go along to Business Connections Live. I'll just whistle back up the top of it again. Oh, there we go. But yeah, all you got to do is go along to the website. How to Handle the Media is the name of the book, and you'll find it on our website at businessconnectionslive.com. Now, it's a difficult subject. How do you measure your worth? Is it the price that counts? In other words, when you are going out and you're doing public speaking, how do you decide how much you are worth for that presentation? How much do you come up with? Do you worry? Do you go down, or do you go up with the price? How do you decide on how much you can charge? It can be a difficult question. I asked Nigel, how much should we be charging when we're doing public speaking?
Whatever you're charging, increase your fees by 10%, because you are worth it. The problem is we are our worst competition. We anti-sell, and we're nearly saying no in advance. So I tell people, if you're worth your fee of £500, put it up to £600. If you're worth £5,000, you're worth £6,000. Occasionally someone can say it's out of our budget. Then find out what else you can put in there so you can make your impact. So it's not that I'm tough on people, but we often put ourselves down before our client says no to us.
And you told the story as well that you, in your early days of speaking, you went out there and somebody phoned you up and said, would you come along and speak at my event? And you thought, and you priced yourself down to get the gig, and they were so pleased because the gig actually, there was more money available for it. And you must have been kicking yourself all the way to the bank on that.
I'd spent 3 months in America at the University of California, Santa Barbara, rehearsing. My name is Nigel, I charge $900. My name is Nigel, I charge $900. And their phone call was, what do you charge? $700. And they went, no problem. I said, what would have been a problem? They said, we had $1,400 in the budget. And there was the problem, that I was so worried I wasn't going to get the gig, that let's lower the fee. Today, fortunately, whilst there might be some flexibility, I start off in a much stronger position, because there are times where you don't want the gig And over the last 2 years, what we have done in our organisation is we de-hire 2 clients every year. Now, you'll be pleased to know you just made it this year.
Thank you.
But we de-hire 2 clients either because it's not fun to work with them, it's hassle, we don't make an impact, or they don't trust us. And you'll find out as we talk about the impact code, trust is key, but having fun is key. And if they don't let us have fun and play, we don't want to work with them.
I like what you did there, and you're working with me now. So the 2 monkeys have now got a relationship going on screen, which I think is very, very good.
I'm helping you get back in the room, you see.
Yeah, I do. So we talked about I, which is in the room. So if you're going to be in the room, be in the room. If you're going to a meeting, be in the room. If you're actually giving time out to listen to somebody speaking, well then listen to them. Otherwise, it's a bit of a waste of time.
It's massively hard, but over the next 21 days, what I'd love all the viewers to do is to notice how often they zone out. That's the point. I was ahead of you and I knew it was coming.
Yes. You bowl back.
Thanks. But once you've learnt to be in the room, the next thing then to do is to model off the very, very best.
Now, is this going back to, I mean, there's been a few people out there, Tony Robbins, he's very much, is this the same kind of thing?
Well, he says success leaves clues. I'm saying look at those people you admire and find something that they do that you admire. I'll give you an example. Do this, my friend. Do this. Make a circle like this. Put it to your chin. Yeah, and that's your chin, you see. And the classic example is
you all week.
You just modelled my behaviour, and I spoke clearly and I spoke slowly. You just modelled my behaviour. I was clear in what I said. Yep. And too often in business, we're modelling the competition who may not be doing it well either. What you've got to do is, what does Pret a Manger do really well? What does Amazon do well? What does Apple do well? So if you buy a new iPhone from Apple, I don't know if you understand, but when you buy a new phone, the box process has a vacuum inside. It goes psh when you open it. But if it takes longer than 9 seconds, what happens is you go from anticipation to frustration. If you want to model off the best organisations, excite people within 7 seconds. If you can't find a sandwich you want and it's always there and it's not there, people will look for 7 seconds. If you go on an internet site and you can't find a phone number within 7 seconds, people literally zone out and they go somewhere else. So find out what businesses are out there doing it really well and just plagiarise off the best. Model what the best organisations are doing. Don't model your competition. They may not be doing it that well.
And isn't that the issue, though, that businesses have? Because identifying what is good and what is bad.
It's what works for you. So what works for me is that we sell certain books, and if we model off the best, we offer a 100% guarantee. But then we wanted to go one stage further. We now offer a 100% guarantee for 100 years on our products, and then we go one stage further. You don't even have to send the book back to us, because people hate sending products back. You ring us up and say, I've bought one of your books, we don't like it, and we will send your money back within 7 seconds.
I mean, that is a big claim, but there's a lot of people that do that, don't they? Are you doing it on the assumption that people just won't bother to go that far?
95% of people like our products. Of the 5% that don't like our products, 4% don't even bother. But there is 1% who actually say, I don't like the product. So every year my mother rings me up. She wants the money back from the book that she didn't even buy to start with. And what we're trying to do is take the hassle away from people not being happy. They don't want to go to a post office and have a receipt and a self-addressed envelope. Just ring us up, say you don't like the product, we'll give you money back.
Somewhere along the line, you must have done this yourself. So what was the big modelling hint that you stole from somebody?
Well, Amazon in a way, but there's a German shirt company who did something similar. They said, we don't even want your products back, just ring us up, say you didn't like the product, and we'll give you your money back. Now I'm saying to people, so you've got a 100% guarantee on our products. If you don't even like it, you don't even have to send it back. Have you ever seen the adverts for the home gyms?
Yeah.
Okay, so home gyms fall flat, they go to flat pack and it goes under your bed, because that's where it's going to stay for the rest of our lives. But if you want your money back, you've got to take this contraption that is as big as your house to a post office to get your money back. And 99% of people are never going to do it, so they keep the gym underneath their beds. I wanted to let people know that if you really want to be the best of the best, tell people you've got a phenomenal product, but should you not like it, send it back. So that's what modelling is about.
That's a very powerful guarantee, isn't it?
I can afford to do it because it's quality of my product. If you trust your own product, why wouldn't you want to do it? If you trust your product, why wouldn't you do it?
So then, modelling from the best is an alternative. It's an alternative view from some of the other people that are out there. But modelling from the best, if success is already out there, why not just take the best bits of success and apply them to your business? So that's model from the best. A word that is sometimes hopelessly overused. The word, I am passionate about this, that, and the other. Passion. What do we mean by that? And do we really need do we mean the word passion, or does it just fit well?
Well, one, it fits well, because otherwise it would be imbelecta, which so an impact makes it more easy to say. But I would be gutted if we finished this interview and you said everything was great, but I didn't get much energy from you. I've already said I'm in the room. I've seen what other interviews did, because I did a bit of homework before. But passion is what sells. And when you see somebody who's passionate about their product, or they're passionate about the service they deliver, the energy is transferable. Or you can be the other way around. So I tell people there are loving, nurturing, caring people who are passionate, or you have what's called psychic vampires who just suck the lifeblood out of you. And they are those people where as you walk in, they just drain you of any energy. And it's like there was a passion meter going about and theirs hasn't been charged.
Right.
And I would hate, and I say this all the time, you may not like my content, but you're going to like my passion. You may not like something, but I'd hate for you to go, liked him, but he wasn't very passionate. If you're going to be in the room, you give everything you've got. That's why you often see rock stars who on stage, Mick Jagger, for example, 70-odd years old, he gives everything he's got on stage. I'm sure if you went to his changing rooms about 20 minutes afterwards, he'd be on the bed virtually passed out. Just because he's got nothing left. So when I'm with a customer, when I'm with a client, when I do a speech, I want to leave nothing on stage. Because that's what I believe passion's about.
So it's that 100% commitment to what you're going to say and how you're going to deliver it, and to get that out so they feel it.
Yeah, it's not about being loud. You can be soft, you could be writing, you could be doing poetry, you could be singing, but it's just giving everything you've got. I hate when people say, I could have given it a little bit more. When you see someone like the X Factor or The Voice, whatever, and someone goes, I'm going to give it all I've got. Well, why wouldn't you? This is your moment. You've got 1 minute and 20 seconds to sing in front of 12 million people. Yeah, I could have given it a bit more. Oh, my word, that just does me in.
So that's passion explained. Action now, a lot of people, this is one of the things that comes up on a regular basis. We have autoresponders, we have mailing lists, but people sometimes fall over at the very last hurdle of picking the phone up and actually taking action and calling somebody or closing a deal or even asking for it. Action's a real problem, isn't it?
So when all is said and done, much more is said than done. That we know. So a lot will get said today. We'll do this whole interview. We're going to share great advice.
And people ignore it.
Some people will ignore it. Some are going to say there's so much better elsewhere. But there's going to be a few people who actually take on board what we've said and their lives succeed. And you say, well, what happened? Well, I actually wrote to my mother. I actually rang up customer service. I actually did this. If you do something based on a performance, there's a good chance of success. If you just take it all on board, it's been a lovely hour. Thank you.
And goodbye. It's interesting because you go to these events, don't you, where they sell life-changing programs, a 10 CD set, and the 10 CD set costs thousands of dollars, maybe your redundancy money, and they will buy this and they'll take it home.
In the moment.
They'll buy it in the moment, and then they'll take it home and they'll think, that's my insurance policy, I'm going to put that next to the gym machine under the bed, yes. and there it will remain. I've got a story on that. There's a friend of mine who produces some of those CDs, and they realised after they'd sold a whole load of them for another company that CD number 8 and 9 was blank. 8 and 9 was completely blank. They never, ever got one single complaint.
Well, here's one of the points about the impact code. So when I wrote the book, the first chapter is the best chapter.
Right.
Because most people aren't going to get any further. No, but there's the truth.
But that is the truth, yes.
There's great stuff afterwards, but you've got to make... Have you ever read a John Grisham novel? One of the reasons John Grisham writes in a certain style is that he brings you in with the first 7 minutes. A bit like the James Bond films, which is exactly the same every Bond film, that there's the chase scene in the beginning. And then the music comes in the film, because they want to engage you. If you aren't engaged in the first 7 seconds or 7 pages, you're never going to go further. So everything that we do is about how do we create action, but then we go one stage further. It's got to be simple action that people can do really fast. So you said it'll be interesting tonight whether people are in the room when they're with their partners.
Yes.
If they recognise that they're not, and they realise that if they were in the room and they listen, communication is much easier, they will see from tonight their lives will change. From tonight, if they really are aware. If this was a 7-week program, and in 7 weeks you'll notice they're not going to last that long. Everything that I do is to make an impact now. Now. And that's the key difference.
Just great advice. It's all about that engagement, those first 7 seconds. Some people would say it's even less than that. My guest on today's show is Nigel Risner. He's written the book, The Impact Code. It's a cracking book, a great book to read if you're in the world of communications. Doesn't matter what area it is. It could be sales, it could be internal communications. No matter where you are, if you have to communicate your message, it's a book well worth getting. There it is. It is The Impact Code with Nigel Risner. You're watching Business Connections Live. Steve Highland with you here. Great to have your company as always. We're live on a Monday. I truly am. Look, pinch me and it hurts. Cut me, I bleed. I really am with you today. Don't forget, you can leave any comments or anything like that on our Facebook page. Of course, you can watch us live each week on Facebook. You can also watch us on YouTube, of course, Ustream, and also Periscope as well. So you've got 4 different places where you can actually find us live. And then, of course, you can always watch us on catch up, both on the website, or if you wish, you can download the entire program and take it with you on iTunes. And we'd like to thank everybody who is downloading the program on a regular basis. Thousands of you do it each and every month to watch the program, maybe when you're on the train or heading into work or wherever. If you are one of those people, thank you very much indeed. But can I ask you a small request? Would you please leave a review to encourage other people to watch it as well? It's dead easy to do. All you got to do is do this. Go to your iTunes account and then view the program in iTunes. All the programs come up, and then all you have to do is go to our ratings and reviews tab. Click on that, and once you've clicked on the ratings and reviews, it'll take you to another part of the page that says write a review. Write the review, leave 5 stars, tell us how good you think the show is, how helpful it is, and what will happen then is iTunes will recommend to other iTunes users our program when they've finished watching maybe the current one that they've already got. The more people that watch, the better. The more people that download, the better. And also it means that we can bring more programs to you on a regular basis. So please do leave a 5-star review on iTunes. It would really be appreciated. You're watching Business Connections Live. Steve Highland with you here. Great to have your company as always. So then, there are a lot of motivational speakers out there. Nigel Risner was on the program, and I asked him the leading question. I said, Nigel, are you the best?
I'd like other people to tell me that.
You're the number one, Nigel.
There you go. Then I must be.
Today.
This hour.
This hour. This moment, because we're in the room. So we've looked at in the room, we've looked at model from the best, we've looked at passion, that people have got to have passion when they're doing whatever they're doing. They've got to take action. What about communication then? I mean, communication has got to be somewhat the heart of all of this, because you could be passionate, you can be in the room, but if you don't tell anybody about it, they're never going to know.
We briefly spoke before about communicating like a zookeeper, but the point is, everything that you do when you're communicating, whether it's internal or external, has got to be for the reader and the listener. I often say to people, how many people in the room talk to themselves? The problem is, most people then question themselves, do I talk to myself? Talking to yourself is one thing, that's internal communication. So you need to build yourself up, you need to big yourself up. So as important as external communication is, internal communication is also important. Have you ever got lost, you're driving on the motorway, you come off a slip road, and then you start beating yourself up because you think you must be stupid? You're not stupid, you've just in that moment got lost. But if you start beating yourself up. Easy for me to say. If you start beating yourself up about your internal communication, you then are really bad at communicating externally. So once you know you're good enough, and once you know that you're a good person, then you've got to learn how to communicate externally. Does
Nigel Risner talk to Nigel Risner before you go on stage?
Yes.
And what does he say?
I've been invited here because I have an important message. They want my best stuff because they've seen me. Very rarely does someone go, we're looking for a motivational speaker. I think Nigel Risner's the answer. So they've chosen me for a particular reason. Of course I get nervous, but I channel that nerves into energy and excitement. When you don't get nervous, the only time you're not going to be nervous is when you're dead, in my opinion. You know, even the biggest rock stars, the biggest actors in the world, all are nervous. It's about channeling that energy. But when I communicate externally, the game is to understand who's my audience. Is it one person, 2, 5, 10, 500? The biggest I've done is 6,500. And when you're communicating to those people, is your message succinct? Is it clear? Is there a takeaway? What do you want them to do with the message? If it's all stuff from the past, and this goes about internal communications, if it's about stuff they could have learnt beforehand, send them a memo, let them stay at home. You want to have a meeting so that they can improve in the future. You can't change past behaviour. You can't change past performance.
You can only change what's happening right now.
And to affect change for the future. So is your message going to enhance people's lives or disempower people? Which one's it going to do?
Even applying all of that, have you ever been in a situation, it's a trick question because I know the answer, but have you ever been in a situation where with all that preparation, doing everything right, it hasn't worked?
Yes. Sometimes, and it's happened a few times, the audience don't want to hear the message, or I've had one audience that definitely did not want a speaker. We had a union involved. It was up north with a TV company. We're not going to mention any names, but they did not want a speaker, and the unions definitely didn't want to hear a motivational speaker talk about change. And the whole audience sat like this for 35 minutes until I cracked 2 phenomenal jokes, and then you could see their shoulders moving up and down because they couldn't help themselves. But sometimes you can be responsible to the audience, not for the audience. So I couldn't do much about it, and I'm okay with that. I've spoken over 2,000 times, and 1,995 have been okay.
Do you ever walk off stage and beat yourself up?
Now, I've come off stage and thought I could have given it a bit more, or I was a bit tough on somebody. Bear in mind, a lot of my stuff is interactive. So I communicate with the audience. I will go into the audience. I'll sit on someone's lap, rustle some people up. And there have been times I thought, oh, maybe we've gone a bit too strong here. But you know what? You have to let it go. You've got to forgive yourself. You can't carry it.
All right, that's communication. Probably the one that is the most, some people would find the most difficult. I mean, he alluded at the very beginning of the program, and that's trust. So how do you, I mean, this is about working within an environment and everything, isn't it? It isn't just about public speaking, getting people to trust you.
Okay, so we're going to use something really live now, and it will embarrass you.
Oh, go on then.
So I've put myself in this position in a studio with somebody who's going to interview me, and I don't know what they're going to say. And I've got to trust the process, trust the great camera crew here, the sound and all the equipment to make me look good. That's called trust. And I trust everybody.
Got some really bad news for you.
Well, that we might find out. But here's the subsequent news. Then the second time, I may not trust if you want me to come back. But I trust everyone until they let me down. It makes life a lot easier. You see, if you don't trust anybody, you're going to get let down by 5% of the world, in my opinion. I might as well trust everybody and get let down 5%. So I fly all over the world, and when I get to the other side of the airport, I'm hoping there'll be a driver with my name somewhere on a board saying, come this way. 99% of the time it works.
So you're not the bloke that's worrying about when you set off about whether you're going to find a place to park.
You know what?
You are confident that when you get there...
This isn't some new blanket type of thing. There's going to be someone to help me with the universe. I just trust there'll be a parking space. And if there's not, there will be somewhere. No one has ever missed the plane just because of a car parking space. They were late to start with, and then they couldn't find a car parking space. So I've already left 2 hours early. There is a parking space in Heathrow. There is a car parking space in this right by the studios. Yes, I may have had to walk an extra 4 yards, but there was a space. So I trust the process. I trust you. I trust the crew here, and I trust you're going to do the best program you can. It subsequently might be that I should have added something or taken away, but if I play the opposite, I'm not going to come unless I see the program. I want to see 18 editions. I want to see the whole setup. Who knows what it's going to be like?
Do you know, we are rapidly approaching the end of the program, and we've nearly really only scratched the surface of it.
So are you inviting me back?
I am. Would you come back?
Of course I'll come back, because I trust you now.
Will you trust me now? It's not. Yeah, it's not finished yet. Who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 minutes? It's been a real insight, because I think a lot of people don't get what people like you talk about when you stand up there, and I think also the fact that what you say can be applied in practical terms, and there are a lot of people who stand on stage and will give advice, but it seems to be quite theoretical in the way it's approached. And what you've done is practical advice with examples. Is that the recipe for success for what you do you think?
If you can't implement what I've said, you're never going to do it. And I want you, by the time you leave here today, be in the room tonight with your partner. Find what other better, not TV companies, better organisations do, model off them. Make sure everything you do is passionate. You take some action, you communicate well, and you trust the process. Follow some of the 6 steps, and I guarantee you'll have a better life.
I'm going to make you say it all again now, because what we do at the end of every programme, we always invite our guests, of course, to look straight down the camera, and just to remind us of the key takeaways that we have on today's programme. I don't know about you, I've been looking forward to this programme. I'm building him up now for a big fall, but I've been looking forward to this programme ever since I saw you speak at one of the PSA meetings, actually, and it's been great to have Nigel in the studio. But really, there is so much that we can all take within our own businesses. It's a bit like having a consultant come in every week and tell us how we should be doing things better. And I think today, regardless of the size of your business, today's programme you should find useful, and there's definitely going to be things that you can implement into your organisation. Nigel, as I said, we always invite our guests to look straight down the camera, number 4 in fact, over here. Say who you are, where you're from, and the key takeaways that we need to remember from today's programme. Nigel, the airways are all yours.
My name is Nigel Risner. My business is Nigel Risner and Associates, and we ask clients to turn themselves from limited to limitless. We want people to be in the room, to really model off the very best organisations that are out there, in everything they do to be passionate, take loads of action, communicate like a zookeeper, and most of all, trust themselves and trust the process. It's been an honour to be here, and thank you very much indeed.
There we go, Nigel Risner, a great programme, and now you can watch it in its entirety. Some good advice as well from Nigel on that particular show. And if you get one of his business cards, if you ever get the opportunity to see him live, do ask him for one of his business cards, because on it does say that he is a zookeeper. So regardless of what kind of person you are, the book is a good read too. There's a number of books there, but the Impact Code is the one that I think is absolutely fascinating. Nigel has an awesome presence which touches and transforms people's lives, and that's from Jack Canfield, said that, the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. The Impact Code, Nigel Risner, is available at all good bookstores and on Amazon right now. There aren't that many bookstores left. The other book that we feature today, of course, is the Moscow Method with Dexter Moscow. If you want to get your selling up to speed, if you want to do some of the processes that he uses, then this is going to be a good book for you. And don't forget as well, go to our website where you can download the free book on how to handle the media. Just go to businessconnectionslive.com. We are, of course, the UK's leading online business channel. Future programs, what we got lined up for you. Taz Thornton, an inspirational speaker. She's going to be on the show. She's an author and also a motivator. She'll be on the program in the near future. Peter Liner, the chairman of ABLE, the Academy for Business Leaders and Entrepreneurs. He's going to be on the show. And we were talking to this guy during the week. We were hoping to get him on today, but he should be on the next couple of weeks. Doug Pidlock from Intermedia Communication Solutions. It's a web meeting technology solution. It is fantastic. And when you see it, you're going to go, ooh, I'm going to want one of those. Also coming up, we've got Rachel Wild from Monochrome, and the legendary Brad Burton's going to be on a future edition of the program. Until we do it all again live next week here on the program, you take care of yourself. From me, Steve Harland. Have a successful week. Till next Monday. Bye for now. Bye-bye.